There we are. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to morning piano lesson here. This is the rule book of improv.
That feels like kind of like an oxymoron.
The rule book of improv?
Yeah.
Sort of is, but it also sort of isn't.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Tell us
Which is
more.
in itself is kind of an oxymoron right there. So, this is going to be sort of the first of like a few lessons that we're going to do in this of this sort.
Yep.
Because the rule book of improv is always being, written.
Amended?
Amended.
Is
It's
that the
always
right
being
word?
amended. I think that works. So, this is a lesson for anyone, for people of all skill levels that are looking to, just looking for some little bits of guideposts to maybe inspire just a cool little experience on the piano if you want to try it out and you want to deviate away from, practicing your chords and scales. It's a new way to sort of do that.
I would agree, because honestly, the hours of chords and scales can get a little bit arduous.
Right.
Hey.
You got a lot of words going on.
I know,
here. We got
I'm very
amendment,
wordy
we got
today.
arduous.
They're Okay.
What?
They're words that start with A.
Yeah.
We should throw to this,
You wanna
because
talk about that?
I feel like this lesson is inspired a little bit by this.
Totally. Yeah. Okay. So we have a big announcement.
Huge.
You can hold it. You did
Yeah.
a good job of holding it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we have a lesson coming up next Tuesday. We have Kenny Werner coming into the studio.
Kenny Werner?
Kenny Werner. So
Big
Kenny
deal.
Werner is a total legend in jazz education and also just
Improv education.
improv education, and I would even just say musical education in general. He wrote this book here, Effortless Mastery.
It's a pretty cool book.
Lisa's giving it a read right now.
I'm just checking it out.
Perfect timing.
Chapter 5, Fear,
Yeah.
the Mind, and
Get
the
yourself
Ego.
cozy. Fearing, yeah, right. So there's a lot of really cool topics here on this book. We're going to be doing a big lesson with him next Tuesday at 4 p.m.
4?
4.
4 p.m.?
That's correct. So this book, I've been reading it. I've been thinking about Kenny Werner, and it's going to be informing a little bit of the topics that we're talking about today
That's
in
cool.
this lesson.
All right.
So yeah.
What's our first topic?
Okay, so the first concept that we're going to be talking about here is how to limit yourself to a palette of to a small tool belt so that you don't get overwhelmed with all your choices when you want to sit down and improvise. Okay?
Oh, and yes, the live stream for Kenny Werner is going to be free.
Oh yeah, it's going to be on the YouTube channel here, so you can watch that. It'll be archived on our site, so...
And then he's also going to be filming content that will be just for piano members.
That's true.
So there's going to be stuff just for piano members, and there's going to be stuff for the whole world.
Yeah. So, the first of this long list of rules that is continually growing is to pick 4 notes. Because an improvisation, Luke, if you're not a reader, there's an audiobook. Check out that audiobook.
No excuses now.
Yeah, it's also a pretty small read. It's not like a massive book, so it's definitely worth it. Okay, so picking out like a small number of notes to use as your improvisation will get you into the mindset where you're not like afraid of making a mistake. Yeah.
So you're saying just to pick a few notes.
Yeah. So maybe
which ones?
Okay. Yeah, you can just pick whatever ones you want. So a lot of times, it's a good idea to pick your 4 notes like within 5-finger scale. I don't want to play in the key of C though. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to play in the key of A major.
Okay. Well, hello, A major.
Yeah, we're going to switch it up here. And the reason why, I'll show you a little bit about that later. But we're going to pick this here, and maybe my 4 notes that I'm going to pick are going to be my root note.
Okay.
Maybe my, say my root note, my 2nd, my 3rd, and my 5th. So I'm not going to use
4
my
notes.
4th. Yeah. And the idea behind this as an exercise is to sort of combine the ordering of those notes and see if that makes, just kind of see how they make different melodic ideas come about. Now, eventually you're going to want to like branch out from just these 4 notes, but just keep it to 4 right now, and you can either hold out your chord or something in your left hand and just experiment. And just
so pretty.
Yeah, get to this place where you recognize that these notes all play a role with each other, right? It's kind of like four little friends going on an adventure, and they all have different things that they gotta say, right?
That's so nice.
Yeah, and it also gets you into this mentality where making a good melody or making a good improvisational line is kind of all about sticking the landing. It's all about the ending of it, right?
Oh.
Yeah, so listen to this. I only have these 4 notes, but maybe I'll start off kind of with a little like moment that's like, we're not done there. If I just kept on doing, if that was the end of the song, boo, 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 it'd be like, where's that?
That'd be okay.
But, so notice how with each of these little phrases here, I'm landing on my 3rd note. And it sounds like it's a definite place to pause and take a breath, but it's not conclusive, right?
No, it's like okay.
It's like, we get it, man. Boo, doo, boo. Too much of this guy in the equation. So now, if we want to give it, let's try to land it on a different point here. Let's try see what it sounds like to land on the 5th with these melodies.
Oh, okay.
So now, we're kind of at a different point in the journey, and maybe it's time to go back to that 3rd. And now we want to land back down on the safe bass, and the home bass for anything is the root note, right? So now that you have your 4 notes that you can improvise with, and you sort of know where the different landing points will take you. Oh, I guess we didn't really look at the B note. Let's just experiment really quickly with what that would sound like, landing on these B notes. Ending, you're just sort of pick a shape or an order of these notes, but make sure that your last one is B. So let's try that. So this one has much more kind of contemplative vibes.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, so you have your 1, your 2, your 3, and your 5. So now that we have that, we can change the backdrop. I think of improvising as making your. I think of improvising as supplying your own music with a bit of a story, right? Because if you just sit around and think of them as just notes, you know, it's a little more difficult to like stay inspired about it. So here's how I'm picturing it. I'm picturing my right hand, got my 4 little buddies on the adventure, and this is like the background, okay? So right now they're playing in this A major. Maybe they're running along like a field.
Oh, a field.
Yeah, they're in the field, right? They're just kind of hanging out in the field. And how do we change, you know, they've got to go on a journey.
Yeah, we're getting bored.
Yeah, we're stuck in that field. So the best way to change, let's make them go to like the mountain or something. So the mountain, that could be as simple as just changing this chord shape, changing our 1 chord to our 4 chord. And now we still got our same 4 buddies, but now, when we switch to that mountain, watch.
Oh my gosh.
Now we're kind of like in a different spot.
We're mountaineering.
Yeah.
There's the word.
We're mountaineering. And of course, maybe when we start mountaineering, we start thinking about, oh, maybe the mountain's cold, so maybe we go up higher now. Maybe we want to, rather than be down here.
So same 4 notes, but we're going to travel them up.
Yeah. Same 4 notes. But we're building this kind of story. I just chose to take it down there. Maybe the mountain's super dark and gloomy. I don't know. Could be anything. But the point is when you sort of explored your 4 notes, and you're looking to give them a new lease on life, change the chord underneath them. And if you're if you're a total beginner, it is just It can just be as simple as just taking your, just kind of keep this as like a metronome, play quarter notes.
I love it.
Yeah, or even whole notes. If you got a metronome, you can just 2, 3, right? Okay, so now maybe we want to change that, give that another chord shape, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so
Minor town?
minor town. Let's go to minor town. Let's take our, so we got our 1 chord.
Yeah, which is A.
We got our 1 chord, which is A. We got our 2 chord, which is, we got our 4 chord, which is D.
Yes.
Now,
Minor 6.
yeah, for simplicity's sake, I'll do minor 6, but then I'll show you another cool one that I always like to use that makes the mountain really cool. But we're gonna go to minor 6 right now. So we're gonna go to F sharp minor. Okay, so in order to change to that color, you're gonna just shift your D note down to C sharp here. Or if you want to keep it really simple, you can play these all in root note positions. So, 4 buddies going out, wandered on the field. Yep, and now they got to go to that mountain. So we switch to our D note. Oops, I'm not supposed to play that note. Back, down to our, we'll do a recap at the end of this, how about? Okay, so now we're going to go to the snowy part of the mountain. That's going to be that F sharp minor chord. Now maybe, the sun comes out, so we play our D chord, our 4 chord. And now we're back in the meadow, so we play our 1 chord. Okay? And maybe by this point, we want to add some new characters in the adventure. So that's
Maybe a unicorn?
We can add a unicorn. So the unicorn's going to be F sharp, how about?
Okay.
And this guy here, he's just, I don't know, he's a scuba diver. So we got a unicorn and a scuba diver. Our 4 buddies, our unicorn and scuba diver.
Okay.
Okay, so the point is we don't have to, none of these rules are hard and fast. They're all written in little pencil. Are you hungry?
My tummy's talking. I'm always hungry.
Yeah. Okay, so, at this point, once you start thinking about, you've got some other melodic ideas, maybe you're tired of this E note being your ceiling. You wanna raise it up
to unicorn land.
To unicorn land. It gives you some more opportunity to express.
So basically, we've got our 4 notes, but we've added to them.
But we've added to them. And then we can start thinking about other shapes. Maybe I'll save some of the other shapes for part 2 of this lesson.
I think that's probably good.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one next month.
And for me, what usually happens, because I have a very short attention span, I'll get comfortable with those notes, and I'll play them over and over and over and over, and then it's just a very natural inclination to go, oh, I wonder what happens if I do this.
Right.
And so then your curiosity gets to kind of come out.
Totally.
And if you play something that sounds wrong, you can go, well, I'll try something else next time.
Totally. And that brings me to the next point that I had in my little list here, which is,
I like points.
I'll quote.
You're gonna quote yourself?
I'm gonna quote myself. You ready for it?
Whoa. Jordan's quoting himself. I'm ready.
Every note is an opportunity.
Oh my goodness.
Woo.
Epic.
Every note is an opportunity. So, improvising is all about removing that little part in your brain that's afraid of failing, right? That's afraid of making those mistakes. And if you set your mindset away from being afraid of making those mistakes, it gives you room to pursue these opportunities now, right? Because it's all about how you just picture, what's happening. It's your perspective. It's your mindset. So maybe I do have a time when I go, and it's like, oh, that sounded that definitely wasn't part of my rules, but maybe now all of a sudden that's another aspect of the thing,
the journey.
Right?
like what's happening there. What is Rulebook lesson 5? I think is where that one is going to be found.
That's right.
Stop it, Jordan.
Okay, so every note is an opportunity, and everything you do, you can try branching out into another path.
Okay. Move.
You want to give it a shot?
Yeah, I really totally do want to give it a shot. So oh, and we should give the quick recap before I give it a shot. So let's recap it for me. Okay. So we've got our 4 notes.
We got our 4 notes.
We picked a chord.
Yeah.
A.
Yeah.
We picked the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 5th.
But they can be any of those 4. And one thing I recommend you do is use your imagination and actually give those 4 notes like give them a little like character. Think of them as like little buddies in a little story. They're
Froggy,
little guys.
Little garden gnome, the garden pixie, and the troll.
Okay, so frog, garden gnome, garden pixie, distinguished from the garden gnome. Maybe there's some kind of romantic tension between the gnome and the
just a little bit.
The pixie.
Yeah.
And then the troll. Okay, so those are Lisa's chosen characters. It does help you associate some emotional connection to these notes, because otherwise it can start to sound just like buttons on a keyboard, right? Which is what we're trying to avoid. Okay,
so we got our characters, we got our chord, we've got our 4 notes, which are named by the characters.
And then
chord.
Then we got the chords. And the chords I think of as the backdrop to the story. So they're the scenery. So you can actually give them a full-on landscape. You can think about this A minor chord, your home base chord,
this is our garden utopia.
Okay, it's the garden utopia. And then go to the 4 chord. So what does that one mean?
This is by the creek.
It's by the creek.
The little stream, the little dripping stream.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna go to the minor, right?
Yeah.
Ooh. The troll is not happy.
So that's the troll hut. That is where the troll dwells.
And that, do I get one more?
You can do one more. Okay, so now we have the 5 chord.
I don't know where this is.
That's the scuba diver's hut.
Oh. Wow. Okay, 4 notes.
Okay.
Oh, I borrowed a note. That's actually kind of fun. I'm gonna go to Minor Town. Oh, am I allowed to do that?
Yep.
I broke the rules!
You're allowed to do, yeah, you go right ahead.
Scuba diver hut.
Scuba diver hut, I like it.
Okay, yeah, I can see how that could be a real good time.
Right, and you know what? Pick a time outside your regular practice regimen.
Oh yeah, the F sharp was a unicorn. Ugh. Sorry, carry on.
I knew that.
I forgot.
Yeah. Oh, Luke's on it. Nice.
Luke's always, he's on his game.
He's a good unicorn tracker.
Thank you, Luke.
The other thing is, and this is just try it out. When you do want to try to improvise like this, especially if you're kind of new to it, I would recommend actually not doing it at the same time of day that you practice your regular stuff.
Oh, you're gonna separate it.
Separate it a little bit, because this is not this is a totally different kind of game, right? Like you want to be in a different mentality, because when you're practicing and you're thinking about technique and stuff, there are sort of conditions that you need to be a little bit more firmly aligned with. You need to be thinking about your fingerings and your scales and stuff. But this point, when you're just kind of mellow and just playing these kind of things,
you're in the zone.
You're just sort of in this zone, yeah. And eventually that's going to start to bleed into your regular practice as well, right? So that's that's something that I find really, really helpful actually. If you're able to practice like in the evening or something just before bed on something like this, you can really help yourself right out. The next thing that we're going to talk about is not being afraid to rest and leave space.
What? Rest and leave space?
I know. So if you're getting really like into this kind of thing, it can become really easy to just say everything at once on the piano. and just kind of never give yourself a moment of pause. But if you do give yourself those moments of pause, it makes you think about your entire phrase versus just like your notes, or even worse, just like your hand motion. Because sometimes I used to do this all the time too. I used to I wouldn't think about what I was actually playing. I would just, I would play like I would just do something like that. And like, it would have no meaning, right? It would just be a hand motion and it wouldn't actually have a sound that I related to. And it wasn't until I stopped for a minute and actually allowed myself time to actually play something and listen to it, and then actually think about, again, everything is an opportunity. I played this. Maybe I want to take my understanding of intervals and play this up here now and see if that changes. Right? And now all of a sudden you have this idea that every note is a word in a sentence, every sentence is a piece of a paragraph, and then that's how you tell your story that way as well. This Effortless Mastery book, who, if you are just joining, he's coming. Kenny Werner is coming Tuesday. He's going to be doing a live lesson with us at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So Kenny Werner talks...
On Tuesday, May 8th.
May 8th, next Tuesday. So Kenny Werner talks about the music being a language, right? And in his book, he's talking about it being the original language, which is very cool.
That is very cool.
Mm-hmm. So we can remember that when we're practicing and improvising here, that we're saying something. We're always saying something. And you don't...
Say something, I'm giving up on you.
That's right.
Sorry.
So we're always saying something.
Say something.
Lisa is an excellent example of someone who's always saying something. So we just want to be thinking about what we're saying and why. What was my other point that I wanted to talk about here? And then, if there's questions here, I'm totally...
Beck, I'm a shite. I think that's maybe my favorite name so far. We have a viewer sitting by the piano trying to improvise with you, and you feel like an enchanter. You should.
Oh, nice.
You
are an enchanter.
You are an enchanter. We are so glad that you're playing along. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
This is a different... I'm really excited to hear that because you are an enchanter. You're totally an enchanter.
And this is a totally different approach than is, I think, taught traditionally. Nobody in all my years of training ever said to me, here's some framework, go explore. And I feel like for many of us, that's kind of the end goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be able to just sit down and make something either beautiful or not beautiful, or just something that makes us reflect what we're feeling.
Right. Yeah, you want to kind of just... I don't know. Sometimes when you get into this mindset where you're just playing this kind of stuff and you just spill into it and you don't even know what. You're like, I'll clean it up later. Right. So the next thing, this is a bit more of a practical thing. This is actually something practicality coming right up. It's happening. This is something that I learned from Jay Oliver, who we also have some lessons coming out from him. He's another great jazz dude, and he talked about arpeggios and he talked about how to use them to bridge your moments on the piano. So remember how we talked about at the beginning of this lesson when it was like, maybe we want to make that mountain that we go to really, really frosty and cold.
Yeah.
And we get up here where things are chilly.
Yeah.
And I used to always be like, how on earth am I going to get up here? How do I look at... And
I'm down here and then what the heck?
Do I just do that? Because that's a little bit, there's not a whole lot of context. Again, we always got to be traveling rather than teleporting. So, arpeggios is how you do that. You can do something as simple as this. You can go, again, our 4 notes, A, B, C sharp, and E, and then... let me think here. How do we get our chords up here? So we could just kind of walk our chord shape up. I'm just taking my left hand, still staying in root position, and kind of moving up those octaves to get myself up here. There's all sorts of ways that you can do it. The way I recommend getting kind of your feet wet in this is just playing as slow as possible and remembering I've decided that my left hand's only going to play the notes of the chord. So all I have to play is A, C sharp, and E, and I can kind of just use those.
You're just reordering an arpeggio.
You're reordering an arpeggio, and you're not even thinking about time. You're playing out of time because it doesn't matter right now.
We've transcended time.
There you go. Transcended time into unicorn land up here.
My favorite place.
So, and then our right hand, again, we have those 4 notes. We have the trolls and the pixies, or whatever Lisa wanted.
Don't forget the frog.
The frog. And then we're up here.
Whoa.
Right? So in arpeggio, Jay Oliver described them as a ladder. He was like, it's a quick way to get up the piano without just kind of going, oh, I'm going to just reset.
There I am. It
How do you
carries
flow
the
up
ear
there?
so nicely.
Yeah, it carries the ear nicely. It reminds me of one of those library ladders, you know, on the wheels.
Whoosh, whoosh.
Like, I've never actually used one.
Have you ever seen one in real life? Because I just know one from Beauty and the Beast.
No, I've seen one in real life, but there was so many books around the ladder, I don't think it was actually being used to roll around a lot.
That's unfortunate.
It was like the old used bookstore.
Ooh.
It had one of those ladders.
That's pretty epic.
It'd be pretty sweet to like have one in your house though.
I'd like that. My house isn't tall enough for a ladder like that.
Well, a step ladder, a rolling step ladder.
I'll take it. Thorin, this is such an awesome lesson.
Well, this is the first of a series of these kind of lessons because I've got more ideas on how this stuff works. Maybe give this a try and incorporate this into your practice for this month because next month we have a similar lesson that's like that's going to be diving a little bit deeper. Maybe we're going to pick a few more notes. Maybe we're not only going to pick notes, but we're going to think about picking full sentences. So, yeah, so rather than thinking of, okay, we have these 4 notes as individual notes, maybe this whole thing is a sentence that we're then going to use to, like maybe we're going to
answer the questions.
Clump them together. Yeah, question, answer, sentence.
Hi, Ruben.
Whatever.
Ruben saying hi to us.
Hey, Rube.
Welcome.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions? Is there questions for this?
This is your time. You have precisely 45 seconds to think of them while Jordan plays us one more round of his beautiful improv.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You should type in effortless mastery on this because you guys should really read that book. If you guys are looking for something to do this weekend, read Effortless Mastery or listen to the audiobook, and then you can come and check out Kenny Werner himself.
For free.
For free.
Here on our YouTube channel.
Yeah. I'll post it in the Pianote one too. Because you can find out right from the thing. Yeah.
From the thing. Sarvatma, we have not compared Indian classical music with Western. I don't know very much at all about Indian classical music. Yeah. So if you have suggestions on like where I should begin with listening to it, please send them to me because I would absolutely love to dive into that. It's lisa@pianote.com.
Totally.
And then I can take a look and then learn about it.
Same with me, actually. I did for a time. There was a jazz piano player that I used to study with named Stu Goldberg, who did like Indian music and jazz together.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he used to play with his tabla drummer. It was really awesome. Maybe I'll give him a call someday. Maybe he'll come by. Kenny Werner's coming next May 8th, so next Tuesday, and he's going to be here at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 a.m. in the time zone.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, you're in a perfect spot because you're going to be in that like super tired spot. Kenny Werner's super meditative. You're going to be, that's the ideal time to take a Kenny Werner lesson, I think. It's 1 a.m. in the morning. just make yourself some coffee. Yeah, but that would be amazing to, I love music that does incorporate non-Western musical ideas into its, into your playing. I used to love a band called Mahavishnu Orchestra. Mahavishnu Orchestra. They're like a fusion band.
That's cool.
Yeah. John McLaughlin, Jan Hammer.
What are your favorite chord progressions to improv to and in which key?
That's a great question. So,
Jordan likes keys that have lots of black notes in them.
Black notes are great because they take me out of the mindset that I got locked in when I was a kid practicing my scales, because black notes, they just feel different on the piano. So I do like keys like B major because the black notes become your home bass notes, and your white ones become the weird ones.
Seems like a safe place to kind of explore, actually.
Yeah, and it's also, it gets you, like for instance, this chord here, I'm not thinking about what this chord is. Is this chord a, like if I were to stop and break it all down, I could spell it out, but as I'm playing in these kind of improvisational headspaces, I'm just thinking of the shapes. And eventually, when you start just not thinking about what the chord is intellectually, you're actually listening to each note. So I'll do a thing like this, and then I'll think to myself, okay, this note here, while I play this big dense
That's beautiful.
thing, I'll think, oh, okay, this note here, I want to lower that just a little bit, so I'm gonna go. Right? You listen to every piece of the puzzle and see how you can manipulate. Maybe this time I want to raise this one up a little bit.
Gosh.
So you start thinking about every single note.
It's so beautiful, Jordan. That's so warm. That was such a warm sound.
Nice warm sound.
I loved it. Okay, so Feck here is 17, so I told him that I would email his parents to say he really needs to.
Don't turn off
the Wi-Fi.
Use the data plan if you have to.
No, don't do that. Then we'll get in trouble.
Data plan.
Definitely don't use the data. Okay, Jordan, that's terrible
All right,
advice.
don't use the data. Fine.
Don't use the data, but definitely this is educational.
It's early in the month, so I'm sure you got like a
oh
lot
my
of data
gosh,
still
no.
Right.
How would you improvise on only 2 notes?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Ooh, a challenge for you.
So on 2 notes, that's really tough.
Can we have 3?
So one thing that actually we were talking about yesterday.
We were?
Yep.
Oh.
We were talking about this.
Oh yeah.
Fourths, perfect fourths and fifths are the same thing, just inverted, right? So
they're mirrors.
They're mirrors. So maybe my 2 notes here, say it's going to be B and E. And I would think to myself, okay, obviously like I can ping pong back and forth on that forever.
Ping pong, ping pong.
But maybe I want to like use that as an opportunity to, it's such an open sound, I can build that out on the piano. So I can take my B note, and then all of a sudden I'm in 4th land down here, 5th land up here.
Oh, so you're more like using an interval perspective to build.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
Now, that's something where it's like you're thinking about what do I do after that? Because if you keep going with that as a 2-note improv,
you're gonna get bored quick.
Yeah, you want to build that into something. So maybe you start off, maybe you have like a little micro challenge in an improvisation where it's like, okay, I want to run up and down the piano with just these 2 notes. So I'll go.
So you're using rhythm to make it interesting. And then
right. And then at that point, I'm done. I'm out of that rule set.
That's super cool.
Or it becomes a motif, right? Where it's like, you call back to it.
That's super cool. Luke has a cool question.
Okay.
Do you consciously pick chords with the left hand or just let them happen and react?
That's a great question.
I think it's a bit of both.
It is a bit of both. So consciously, I would say here's the general game plan. You start off with a conscious selection of chords. In fact, my shirt is a girl. Pardon us.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Girl power.
Girl power.
We apologize. It was probably Jordan's fault.
I don't think it was my fault. Likely. Yeah, whatever. We do apologize.
Okay, hold on. We were answering a question, and I totally got like the squirrel thing happened.
The chords.
Oh, picking the chords.
Picking the chords. Starting off, picking a set of chords, but then you get to a point where those chords, you start to get a little looser with them, right? And frankly, I'm not gonna like that came about through learning all my chords and my inversions, so that you get to that point where all of a sudden you just kind of want to go, okay, now I'm going to just kind of freestyle it. But it might start off with a really great set of chords that I love to start off improvising with is a minor 1 chord and a major 4 chord, just because it always sounds super groovy. Right? Right, that always just kind of, you can just do that forever. But maybe, eventually you start thinking back into that mentality where you're not thinking so much of the chords, you're thinking of the pitches in each chord. So it's like, you'll want to go down or something. You want to go move chromatically down on your root note. So I might have an improvisation where I'm just starting like this. I'm going to go up here. And I'm just going to keep my top 2 notes, C and E. They're going to be static. They ain't moving nowhere.
They're not, okay.
But the bottom
climbing down.
Is climbing down. And there's a couple famous songs that do this. This one sounds already like one.
I was hearing my guitar gently weeps.
Yeah.
So that's a great question. I'm getting lost in this song though. It's good to practice your scales and inversions daily. I think they kind of go hand in hand. So if I practice an A major scale, I'm also going to practice the A major chords with their inversions.
Yeah.
I'll do them solid and broken, each hand, hands together, and I try to do at least 2 octaves.
Yeah.
If I can, depending on my time. But doing that's going to help you to put together how to move between those chords most easily.
That's right.
Jordan's lost in While My Piano Gently Weeps.
Oops.
It's so pretty.
This is a fun song to play.
The melody fits under the hands really, sweetly in this one.
Yeah.
You'll find some songs, it's really easy to pick out the melody, and then others, you're like, why is this so hard?
Yeah.
But I feel like it flows so nice.
Well, because again, it's kind of weird this song was written obviously on guitar because it's such a cool little piano.
It translates
movement.
so beautifully on the piano.
So I'm not thinking so much about the chords. I'm thinking about how this motion moves down.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
Good progressions for beginners to improv. I would always say stick with the 1, the 4, and then the minor 6 like we did today.
Yeah.
So in C, you could do C, F, and A minor. Mm-hmm. You can add the 5 in there if you want to.
Yeah.
What?
No, sorry, I didn't cut you off.
Oh, I was moving on to mastering all the 7th chords and inversions.
Oh, then I will cut you off because I have something to say about chords.
Okay, you do that.
So also another chord progression to use that's really useful is minor 1, major 4.
Ooh.
That's the one if you want to kind of sound bluesy and jazzy.
Minor 1.
It's like it's a blues jazzy cheat sheet. Yeah, then go to play G chord. Yeah. Right. Now I'm just using the pentatonic scale up here.
All right.
Like a little blues.
Pants.
Yeah. How do you do the 7th chords?
Yeah, you just have to practice them all.
Yeah, and just remember that
they're hard.
7th chords have 4 notes, so that means they have 4 inversions.
Yes.
So not like, right, like any chord will have as many inversion types as it has notes in the chord.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Jordan. I made a really dumb comment in a recent lesson where I got excited about the act.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, you were.
No, I was not.
You were thinking about it.
Okay, is there anything else? I've gone through my list.
I think that was an absolutely brilliant lesson. I think everybody should get pretty excited about the next one, and Kenny.
Oh yeah, get excited about Kenny, and yeah, if you're a member of Piano, our schedule I believe is updated through to the summer here, so you can see when this next one is going to happen. lesson number 2.
Yes, we've got lots of updates on the schedule. At 2 for members, we are playing through a City of Stars song.
Oh, right, yeah.
Student Becomes the Teacher style.
Yeah, you're going to do that
It's not a song
one.
I have mastered, so...
Go for it.
We're going to talk through how I would teach myself to play this song.
I'm personally very excited.
Jordan's going to make fun of me the whole time.
Very excited for that one.
This isn't my strength, the sight reading, so it'll be exciting.
It's more your strength than mine.
well, together we can do it. Oh, we love you too. Thank you so much for being here and making this so much fun. We will see you. We're going to be here next week, same time, same place.
That's right.
And happy playing.
Yeah. Okay. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.